Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, rising from the grave once again for the 5,287th time. Due to the continued litany of unforeseen circumstances and nonsense that my life has seemingly become, to say this video is a bit late is an understatement, but it is a story that needs to be told. For a game developer to end up in these not-so-hallowed halls, they must have done something inherently anti-consumer in nature, such as we find ourselves here with not one game developer, but 5. All doing the exact same thing, which is undermining the ability for gamers to be able to rely on Steam user reviews and review metrics in order to misrepresent their games to gamers, potentially duping gamers into buying a game where they might not have otherwise done so. Now, I don't do this as often as I should anymore, but I would ask that you share this video. Hit like, let me know what you think about what they're doing in the comments below, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd ask you to consider doing so. Don't let game developers such as these get away with what they are doing. Yes, we have reached out to Valve, but they are increasingly slow moving regarding this sort of thing more and more, so we have to rely a little bit more on word of mouth. Now, that said, let's get started. Back in April, I helped Sentinels of the Store, a fantastic Steam group that if you haven't joined yet, you probably should, to gather information and to investigate something Mellow Online and Survivalent Death had come across while they were checking up on our friends over at myped.ru, or I suppose it's named MIPT now. For those of you that don't recall, MyPed, or MIPT, was the site that allowed us to blow the lid off of the gray market industry, which showed exactly how asset flippers and bot card farmers made their money, which involved generating hundreds of thousands of review keys for asset flips, selling them on the gray market for a few cents a piece, using those asset flips to farm gems, which would then be used to purchase card packs from popular games that had a large card trading volume and sell those for real-world money. To name but a few of the methods used were asset flip developers like H. Berdiev, Silicon Echo, the Romine Brothers, and many more made large amounts of money before Valve got tipped off by, well, someone, and Valve worked on stemming the tide. So from MIPT, they found this website named Absor, which specialized in a brand new area of dirty dev behavior, that being paid user reviews, where game developers or publishers would reimburse people for positive Steam user reviews of their games. But to even get access to the site, it was a bit of a hurdle. In a call with the Mellow Online, Survivalent Death, Sentinels moderator Ocular Malice, Connor from MMO Fallout, a website you should also go and favorite, along with me, we worked on different methods to gain access to the site. This included providing phone numbers, email addresses, linking the Steam account, and jumping through several verification hoops just to get access to it. Not to mention the Steam account must be regionally located in Russia. So I brought up the existence of pinger apps, phone apps that can be used for calls and text messages that generate a phone number for you, which is then attached to that account. That way you're not giving them your actual phone number. This would allow Survivalent Death to anonymously use the app for text message verification processes, as well as to adhere to a Telegram account, which was also a requirement. But after a laborious amount of setup, we were in. Survivalent Death had access to the listings, but even then, it wasn't all that easy. The amount of caution taken by Absor was extreme. To give you a bit of an idea, here were the rules and requirements for people willing to post paid user reviews. A paid game must be purchased with money or Steam balance. It is prohibited to activate the game with a key or gift. Now, that first rule, as well as several of the others, is worth focusing on for a moment, as they want to make sure that the paid user reviews don't get the game received for free tag on the user review. The reason for that is, if a game is received for free, it doesn't really count in the Steam user review metrics, a metric that the developers and publishers using the site very much want to have impacted. When writing a review, it is forbidden to check the game received for free checkbox. It is prohibited to delete or change a review after completing a task. It is prohibited to return money for the game after completing the task, or rather it is forbidden to refund the game. The review should not contain the slightest hint that it was a paid review or that you did not play the game. You cannot tell anyone that you posted a paid review for the game. Everyone must maintain complete anonymity and confidentiality. It is prohibited to contact players or customers outside of the service. It is prohibited to exchange any contact information. It is prohibited to create more than one account in the Absor.biz service. It is prohibited to copy the texts of other people's reviews. In case of violation of these operating rules, your account on the Absor.biz website will be blocked. And all of these rules are designed for two different but very important things. The first is that they want to make certain that their blatant violation of Steam's terms of service are not discovered, as that would end the money train for those engaging with this site and others like it. It also serves to protect the developers who are also willfully violating the Steam terms of service, as that would break trust in sites like Absor, and that would not only see games getting removed from Steam, it would also be the end of sites like Absor. So upon agreeing to those rules and requirements, we were finally able to access the main page, and this was what we were met with. Now, even here, we still didn't have access to any of the game titles, merely brief disclaimers about how much money one would be paid and the required steps to complete. And these steps are also crucial for these systems, as it helps to defeat any algorithmic checks Steam has in place to detect potentially fraudulent user reviews, as they have a required approximate playtime within the game before the writing of the review, and then after posting the review, some additional playtime is also required. But from contextual clues, I thought I would be able to get a pretty good guess on which games they might be. So for that first one, I searched using SteamDB what games were available at the 568 ruble price point, which brought up a list of about 9 games. From there, it was a fairly simple matter to locate which game was approximately 20 gigabytes, where most of the games at 568 rubles were 1 to 2 gigabytes or lower. There was only one at that price point that matched the download size, and that was Monsters Domain by GDevs, which was clocked in at 20.11 gigabytes. Other games we found there, which were later confirmed that I'll get to in a moment, were as follows: Lonely Knight, idle roguelike RPG by Enter the Game; Skibbity Back Rooms by Rosa Special Studios and Grand Technology Associates; Dragon Here, Silent Gods, a licensed Dungeons & Dragons game by SGRA Studio and published by Newverse Pte Limited; Anyway, a side-scroller platformer by iFront; and of course, as mentioned before, Monsters Domain. Although it is worth noting that we did not get a screenshot of the game Anyway before the account Surviolent Death had set up was banned from Absor.biz. However, the bot for Absor that sent out Telegram reminders saved us in that regard, as it sent out a reminder for Anyway, as it was one of the 5 user review requests we had accepted on the account. Our account from Absor was banned and removed inside of 24 hours, But we were able to confirm with our own eyes that these 5 game developers did engage with Absor for paid user reviews. Now, why is this important? Why does this matter? How does it affect the consumer? Those are all questions that I have to be able to answer before I place a game and game developers onto the dirty devs. And in this case, the answer is simple. Not all critique is created equal. We all know this. Hell, the sheer volume of memed user reviews is massive. However, there are a good deal of well-written user reviews out there, and the user review metric can be used as a barometer for how well other people have received the game. Something that can be quite valuable for gamers, especially those who do care whether or not they might be wasting their hard-earned money. And what these game developers are doing eliminates that. It is review manipulation at its very core. Manipulation specifically designed to keep prospective buyers in the dark and to present an absolutely false image to generate more sales than they otherwise would. It is them directly lying to any potential consumer that might come across their Steam page. It also has the run-on effect of damaging, if not destroying, the credibility of Steam user reviews as a whole. After all, if we only know about some of them, how many more exist? We simply don't know. And because of that, we're forced into a position of not being able to trust any of them. That is why these 5 developers have very much earned their position here today, or rather a month ago, because this was all conducted a month ago. So what has happened since then? Well, the Absor site has gone into hiding. It now has an HTTP redirect in place that takes you to Keymailer, a website that is used by many content creators, myself included, to obtain review code. Now, before anyone thinks it, no, Keymailer is not attached to Absor in any way. You can set up a web redirect to literally anywhere. I could fire up a redirect for SidAlpha.com to go to Ubisoft.com if I wanted to, or to any website under the sun. For a time, I was able to still manually reach the login page for Absor even with that redirect in place, but they seemingly detected that and changed their redirect to a wildcard, which locked me out completely. But is Absor gone? No. They've simply taken additional steps to keep themselves hidden, and they seem to be quite effective at doing so. And the developers? Well, block and deny seems to be the rule of the day. Mellow Online went to each game in turn to post our findings. The Lonely Knight developers simply removed the discussion thread with no ban and no response, simply sticking their heads in the sand and doing what all dirty devs try to do, hide from the light. The Anyway developers actually moved the thread Mellow Online created to the bug report section, which I'm pretty sure calling out a dirty dev for paid user reviews is a feature and not a bug, but either way, they eventually deleted the thread with no words being given whatsoever. The Monsters Domain developers, GDev's, response was interesting, to say the least. They denied the allegations and attempted to strawman some questionable accounts while stating they paid for some YouTube and Twitch advertising on Fiverr, which none of this has anything to do with marketing on those sites. Now, it is worth noting that while GDevs refute the allegation, we would then have to ask ourselves who would go to a site like Absor and post a listing to reimburse the cost of the game plus a small payment to the tune of a little over $7 a piece, where potentially hundreds of people would be accepting the offer. Certainly not a fan, not at a 45% positive rating is likely prevented from becoming negative due to these paid reviews. That would leave GDevs themselves and Creative Forge Games, the publisher for every single one of the numerous spammed out games GDevs crank out on a continual basis. GDev's final word on the matter was that they refused to investigate further, which is concerning in its own right, as paid user reviews are a violation of Steam terms of service that has seen numerous game developers banned by Valve in the past. GDev's only response was to posit alternative theories that had no basis in reality for anyone with more than 2 brain cells to rub together. But for these last two, Dragon Here, Silent Gods, and Skibbity Backrooms, I'm going to quote Mellow Online here, as he did post a follow-up to all of this on the Sentinels of the Store page, where he wrote, "So I'm lumping these two together as they had very similar responses, and I'm going to have to give a timeline of sorts as to what happened with these two games. On April 19th, 2 days after our article went live, Skibbity Backrooms got removed from Steam along with Grand Technology Associates' other games. 2 hours after the games were removed, when the store pages were no longer accessible, my discussion was removed from the forums and I got banned for fake information. Why they chose to do it while the store page was down, I'm unsure. Maybe Valve forcibly removed it and the developers suspected that the discussion had something to do with it. Regardless, it's safe to say that these guys deny the claims of fake reviews, but they've done it in a way where they present no counter-argument or means to disprove this. The games would then resurface back onto Steam just yesterday." Now, Dragon Here's team also banned me from the forums for spreading false accusations. However, after I received the ban from these guys, I then got a notification from Steam saying that I had received a community ban on my account. Just 24 hours, but it was a terrifying time. Ratchet owned Sentinels for a whole 9 hours. I had read text on Steam Rep, and I can't imagine how things could get any worse in the world than this. In all seriousness, I was still bugged by it because as I did more digging and spoke to more users, community bans stack. So this being my first, because I received one, the next time it would be a longer ban. So out of both principle and also not wanting future community bans to stem from this initial wrong decision in my eyes, I decided to challenge it and contacted support. After a review from Steam, the ball landed in my court. I dribbled and got it in the basket, and the decision was made in my favor to get the community ban removed. The staff member revealed that this was automatically applied after getting subsequent community bans in a short period of time. The two forum bans fell just 3 days apart, and prior to this, my last ban was in February 2021. So there's no doubt that these two guys deciding to ban me for sharing information triggered a community ban. So that is where that lands. And as is normal, as common for developers such as these, their normal reaction is to kick, scream, and rail against being drug into the light. But now they'll not be able to control the information from reaching your eyes, as well, this is not Steam, this is YouTube. Now, it's possible that they might try, but if they do, well, I've dealt with those types in the past numerous times, and we all know how that song and dance goes. Paid user reviews are deplorable, and they cast doubt on all user reviews for smaller games, potentially for larger ones as well. And none of these 5 developers should ever receive a penny from any gamers as a result of their actions. So, welcome to the Dirty Devs, iFront, SGRA Studio, Newverse, Rosa Special Studio, Grand Technology Associations, Enter the Game, G-Devs, and Creative Forge Games. I hope you all enjoy your stay. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.